Hello and welcome to the Heroes Global Championship. My name is Trickster, Caldor's over there, and Caldor, I've got some good news, I got some bad news. Which one do you want to hear first?
Always the bad news first.
Bad news, it's the last week of this entire season, man.
We have playoffs. What are you talking about?
That's the good news. Playoffs next week and MSB soon. The action continues here for the HGC. Let's go ahead and check out the standings. Hey, man, you got to put some drama in the zestiness of HGC. HGC and chill, man.
Save the drama for your mama.
That's... You're rhyming today. Look at you. Dignitas at the top here with a 12-1. Right behind it, Fnatic. Both these teams have secured a spot at the MSB, so we're waiting for the playoffs next week to find who will be our third team to go there. And right now, it's looking like Team Liquid has the best standing, but again, we're going to be playing with 4 teams here next week.
Exactly, and it's going to be pretty awesome because especially Liquid has massively stepped it up, and Zealots, who came in second at the Western Clash, they started to struggle last weekend, so there's definitely a lot of wiggle room for the teams and to see who pulls through. Method, of course, could also all of a sudden step it up a bit and then rival that last spot for the mid-season brawl once again.
Let's go ahead and look at the schedule here for the matches that you will be watching, as we'll start off today with Dignitas taking on Team Zealots. Gonna be a good one here. Zealots have been having a bit of a rough road as of late. Lost their last two matches, but they can have a chance here against Dig. They've always shown up whenever they need to.
Exactly, and they also, not only did they make it to the grand final against Dignitas as the Western Clash, where they nearly won, but they also won against them in part 1 of Phase 1. But of course, later on, we have Trick Esports going up against Method, and we have North America coming at you after that with Simplicity up against Team Freedom and Gale Force Esports against Tempo Storm.
Trick Esport and Method, the definition of a match that you cannot bet on. There's no way you know who's going to win that series, who's going to show up. Method, Trick Esports, will they both show up against an epic series? Who's going to win?
Hands down, Trick.
Trick is going to win, hands
Simple reason, there's nothing on the line for them. They are currently in a little bit of a slow mode.
They can't move up in the standings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when there's nothing really on the line and they're just like, all right, I guess this and that happened, then all of a sudden they come out swinging, everything works, and they just body everyone.
You can't miss out on the ethereal factor, though, man. Samuro could come out during that series. We could have Diva suddenly out of nowhere. We'll see what happens in that series. But let's go ahead and go and focus on the first one. Zealots and Dignitas coming in here with their action, and we checked in with the players. What exactly is going to happen in this matchup?
I've been very surprised by the recent performance of Zealots. We definitely rated them very highly as a team coming off the Western Clash, but recently, over the past few weeks, it seems that they've kind of just lost their groove. Their series against Tricked especially, we were very surprised that they lost in what seemed kind of dominant from Tricked's side, and then we played against Tricked and then we just did the same thing to Tricked that they did to Zealots, you know? So it feels a little bit strange to see Zealots kind of slumping like this. I think Zealots definitely had a lot of momentum coming off the Western Clash, and it might be true that it's starting to kind of fizzle out. But I think the way the meta shifted has actually kind of gone against them, because instead of like their meta remaining kind of their own and being dominant, it became a lot more kind of mainstream to play the picks that they were playing. And I think once everybody started like identifying their drafts and kind of even playing them against them, they're kind of struggling to find their feet again in the current way the meta is, because they don't have all these niche things like Garrosh and Medivh and Tassadar that they could just get away with. So I do think they're struggling to like try and be that unique team that they were before, because the things that they play are just so unpopular now. If they do manage to pick it up again, I think they can give us a very, very close series, and obviously in the past they've been very good at preparing for us, so I think we're expecting them to do something similar again, but based off their previous results, I'd say the series should be quite convincing in our favor.
I think the last week can be something we want to forget about, because I think we applied too much pressure to ourselves, and we are performing way better with underdog attitude, and that's the attitude we are going to take on versus Dignitas this week. I believe that our playstyle is something Dignitas struggles against, and we are going to use that as our main strength to win the series.
On top of that, for you guys at home, Zeratul is available for this weekend. The bug that he had with Void Prison has been fixed, and so we have him mixed up in that top lane, which is going to be important, of course, with Ethereal possibly playing the Zeratul. There's also a lot of Thralls been played in the last couple of weeks, so I want to see if maybe more Thralls can be in the mix for both these teams.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a huge possibility because he's been picked up a lot, and of course, let's not forget about Maiev. Especially Dignitas has played a lot of Maiev. Team Liquid, of course, the same. They are the team that played the most in HGC Europe, but just in in the last week, and all of a sudden Dignitas has been showing Maiev in nearly every single one of their drafts. So that's something that we could see here today again.
Let's go ahead and go to Battleground number 1 in this best of 5 series and see how exactly our team's going to kick off the match. First off, we're going to BOE. Zealots with the pick on the Battleground, meaning Dignitas will have first pick.
So this is one of the roughest battlegrounds for Dignitas. They have 4 games played on the map and a 50% win ratio, so they won and lost 2 each. And Zealots, it's their best battleground by far. 8 wins, 3 losses, 73% win ratio. So they are trying to open the game, the series with a bang. They are really trying to gain some momentum through a victory on Battlefield of Eternity here, so they don't save it for later on in the match. And if Dignitas can shut them down here, that would of course be fantastic for Dignitas, but maybe this is the map where Zealots can start to build that momentum that they need to take down such a strong team.
See exactly what's going to happen here. When it comes to Zealots, they seem to be really strong when it comes to controlling the Immortal and making sure to have a lot of poke available. We've seen the Tassadar in the past being able to burn down the Immortal at level 16 with that double-sized Storm. Hanzo's been a priority for them. We've also seen the Greymane coming in occasionally, which is kind of someone that's been popping up here and there with Hanzo being banned out. So we'll see how that pays off. And then, of course, there's Phoenix to always consider. Phoenix was pretty popular last week, but fizzled out towards the end of Sunday.
Yeah, Phoenix does not really have the best track record in Europe at this point. A lot of teams said that they just feel he gets drafted into the wrong position, and especially Hanzo is incredibly dominant, and a lot of teams just stated straight up that they feel Hanzo is the better Phoenix and just is way more versatile than the Phoenix himself is. But especially Trick, for example, was able to make Phoenix work, so maybe it's going to show up once again this weekend. But at this point, if you look at Phoenix, he's sitting at a 42% win ratio in Europe, 5 wins and 7 losses.
Now, as we head into this matchup, I'm excited to see what's going to happen in that top lane. We mentioned Zeratul. We mentioned the possibility of Thrall being popped up. Sonya popular for Zarmany. You have Malthael as well. But mostly because this meta lately has been so sideline dependent in terms of being able to stay alive. A lot of ganks have been going towards their opponents. We saw it last week, actually, where Webby was actually struggling a little bit, where there's a lot of ganks heading towards his direction. We even saw him fall a few times.
Yeah, exactly. And the Haka, he had a really rough time, and he was targeted a lot. But so far, there's not really a big surprise happening in the draft. Maybe the one thing that surprises me slightly is that the Zealots prioritize a ban on Maiev over a ban on Hanzo. So they give Hanzo up, and they just take Maiev away. Because of what we said earlier, Maiev was highly prioritized last weekend by Dignitas. They played really well around it. Snitch played a great Maiev there. And now they're just saying, okay, this is too much potential with all the displacement that comes into play here with the tether, with the cage later on. We just want to eliminate the Maiev factor, and we are happy to just give them Hanzo if they really want it. And of course, on Battlefield, it's still a #1 pick, simply because you have so much burn potential against the Immortal.
Now, I'm kind of curious to see if we're going to get that Stukov and maybe Garrosh for that pickup for Zealots, just knowing what their tendencies are and what they seem to go to. Garrosh in this battleground can be great with the Immortal stuns, being really strong in terms of defensive stature. Also, if you need to be in a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-1 scenario, you can buy enough time with that Garrosh to be able to hold your Immortals. But Zealots actually completely phase off from that. They move straight into Medivh, and we get the Tyrael instead.
Yeah, they really like to play Tyrael on this map. They oftentimes go straight away for a Tyrael pick, and of course Medivh is a hero that finds himself oftentimes banned out against Zealots because of ADRD. But now they're already having that layered defense here with the Sanctification, the Tyrael shields, Medivh with his protection, and that's a good start for Zealots into the draft. And Dignitas has been talking about how they feel that Zealots are always very good at preparing, and it's one of the strengths of ADRD in particular, that from his draft preparations they can draw a lot of victories, or at least advantages heading into a game. So I'm curious to see how they're going to round it out, just simply because Dignitas isn't wrong when they are saying that one of the problems that Zealots might have right now is that their meta all of a sudden became standard, so the picks that usually come in from them to be a little bit more on the odd side are now rivaled by other teams as well that attempt to pick them away from them.
Yeah, Zealots may be really good at preparation, but Dignitas should be ready themselves. Something that you think about is maybe picking up a tank here to control those portals, or even a support that's really good in that scenario. And Dignitas is actually thinking that. They move straight into Malfurion, brings out that Roots, but we get the Genji here too, so a little bit more dive available, a little bit more aggression available for Dignitas. It seems like they want to be able to portal, or to control those portals. If Medivh pops out on a portal and the duration expires, Genji can jump on a target that could be low if a Force of Will's already been used. So Dignitas looking to bring out some aggression.
A ban on Blaze comes in for the side lane. Now, so far, Dignitas hasn't played Blaze on Battlefield of Eternity, but it's still a hero that we oftentimes see when they are trying to survive and when they try to just like layer the defenses here. The tank choice is actually something that I'm really curious when we're talking about Dignitas, since they've been experimenting quite a bit with the tanks here. We've seen JPL fall back on his Muradin quite a bit, but that hasn't really seen a lot of success for them. In fact, the only 2 games where they won on Battlefield of Eternity, Dignitas played with Garrosh.
We also saw Nubrak a lot last week as a way to try and handle Tyrael in particular, trying to drop that before the Signification comes out, get a Cocoon on him, find a target, dive them, delete him quickly, and a Nubrak could work here if you're able to play around those portals.
They played with the Nubrak once, but they also lost that game. So Nubrak, as he said, he's a lot more popular. He was for the longest time a hero that Fnatic resorted to a lot, and they played very aggressive around it. But now we are seeing, for example, Team Liquid in particular, taking a lot of the Nubrak as well. Stukov being banned out, so Shad can not rely on one of his strongest healers. But Zealots have still quite a lot of options here. Malfurion taken away. We have Stukov, of course, eliminated now too. But there's still a lot of opportunities to go into Rega, into Uther. Think about playing with a cleanse if they wanted to here.
With Blaze being banned out, I think Karazim's even a good option here too if you want to go full dive.
And Shad played it.
Yeah, and Shad's played Karazim in the past. You have Tyrael and Medivh. You have a lot of shield and protection already, so you don't need as much healing. The circle of healing will be enough from Karazim to help out with the dive, but the idea is trying to delete those squishies on the other side, and there are already multiple squishies for Dignitas between Genji and Hanzo. I see Karazim working here fine.
Yeah, definitely. Karazim is a good option for them for sure. And it depends a bit more on what Dignitas picks on the front line. If you have a super hit point heavy tank, then of course a Karazim with a 7-sided strike for the burn potential is also fantastic. At the same time, side lanes are going to be really interesting because we're having now already Blaze taken away. So we're talking again about Thrall, we're talking about Sonya. Good options for both of the teams. You still have Leoric that you could move in. There's the Karazim we've been talking about. And Greymane.
Dive. Dive. That's the plan here for Zealots. We're going to pick a target and we're going to attempt to delete it. My only worry, missing a little bit on the CC. You have Polybomb, which would be helpful for Medivh, and then you have Tyrael, maybe can move to Holy Ground at level 13. So I kind of want to see what that final pickup is going to be for them on that side lane to help find that lockdown. But we'll see what happens for Dignitas gets their pickup. We're looking for that main tank, as Caldor was mentioning earlier. What do you pick here?
I feel you can still head into Muradin for sure with the setup. We're talking, of course, about a potential Diablo setup too, but it's Battlefield of Eternity, and you have to be a bit more cautious during those choke points. Normally, we don't seem too much prioritized here, but JPL's Muradin would work. You get the Stormbolt in, you have Malfurion with the roots, and then you follow up with Hanzo's damage output. So that's one option that they could go down. Side laner is more so interesting to me. ETC over Muradin, but what's the side laner going to be for them?
ETC? Final pickup coming from Wubby. If you're looking for a little bit more tankiness, Sonya could work here just to have that strong top lane.
Thrall.
They pick Thrall.
They're going to go for Thrall.
Okay. Thrall's meta, boys. It's official.
Yeah, definitely. The last 2 weekends in Europe, he's seen a ton of play here.
I gotta stop playing him. He's too meta.
Yeah.
Sad. I'll find somebody else. D.Va's working lately.
I mean, I have to say that, especially with the Echo of Elements now, the spam on the Chain Lightning against any kind of squishy that approaches you is just really good at poking and keeping them low before the actual fight starts. So once you have that, it can be absolutely fantastic. And we've seen that in play a lot, and especially with your level 16, getting the slows all between the targets, get the slow and the extra damage in. It's a heavy poke potential for sure.
Wow, Rag. Unexpected. Final pickup for Zealots. We've had Rag a little bit from Zealots in the past. But, I
mean, again,
I was looking for.
I didn't really expect Ragnaros either, but now you have a lot of potential to...
Leyline Seal, Sphere Smash.
So exactly, to set combos off, and on top of that, if your opponent grabs the Immortal of yours, you have still Molten Core that you can use for the defense, exactly. So there are definitely... They are one of the teams that likes to play a bit more Ragnaros than anyone else, but still, it's not quite what I expected, especially with Zarmany. In the past, it would have been auto-lock on Sonya, but recently, they don't play as much Sonya anymore as we would expect.
Complete adjustments too here from Zealots. Usually you expect that Hanzo to come in, they're willing to race around the Immortal, but here they are willing and content to give up the Immortal if they have to, thanks to that Ragnaros coming in.
And Zealots is doing really well with Ragnaros. They don't play him a lot, but we have seen him play twice now, and both of the games were victories for them. So they're not doing too bad with him. It's not really a hero that is played throughout Europe. We see him pop up every now and then. In general, we have 6 games played on Ragnaros, and again, 2 of these victories are from the Zealots, so we're going to find out if they can add a 3rd one. This is their map. This is the map where they absolutely excel at, where they have the best track record. And they're, of course, going to try and use that to take Dignitas down, gain a bit of momentum, and then win the series against a team that now defeated them already twice in 2018.
Now looking at Dignitas and their composition, they're pretty volatile. They have the ability to kind of blow up their opponents pretty well, but they also have a lot of squishies. Even ETC on that front line as a tank, if he's unable to be able to pop out that armor, or of course get into a spot that works out well for him so he can power slide away, he can get blown up too.
The thing about Lauber on Leftovers, when he played ETC on the map, he was focused in every single engagement right at the start, and if you run into any kind of setup that locks you down, you can fall. Now, the saving grace is there is no Stukov against them, which was the case back then against Leftovers. That makes ETC's life even a lot more dangerous, so that's missing here. So it's going to be a bit rougher for the Zealots to get that kill, but they're going to try. And we're heading into game number 1 as we're kicking our series off between Zealots and Team Dignitas. And over to the left side, we have currently our team in blue, the Zealots, with a quick boss even, as Snitch is apparently, or something on the side of Dignitas not quite working out for them here.
Blame Zelia.
Why are we playing Zelia?
Because it's Zelia issue is what Dig said. So we're going to get that figured out, see what exactly is happening here.
Oh, but I don't think you can fix Zelia's issues that quickly.
Dang,
that needs some professional
went deep.
help.
Dang.
The last interview, having Zelia in an interview is just so much fun.
Yeah?
It's also very interesting because you just don't know what happens the next time.
You don't know what's going to come out of his mouth, man. I'm actually worried sometimes when I'm talking to him. Like, what exactly are you going to say? And not because, like, I don't think it's going to be, like, ill-harmed or anything, but mostly because I can't follow it. I have no idea what that kid is talking about sometimes. But you love him for it anyway, so...
The funny is when you then sit with the entire team and all of them are just completely memeing him the entire time. Because everybody is just like, yeah, we don't know what he's talking about either. But yeah, the Digni Jet.
The Digni Jet, man. Flew him across the world, and they were in a bathtubs full of Parmesan garlic wings from Buffalo Wild Wings. Incredible.
The fact that you remember that actually makes me worried.
That was the part that stood out to me. That's the point where I was like, this is a BS story. Like, the moment I heard the bathtubs full of chicken wings, I was like, oh, okay.
That was the moment when you thought that's not a true story?
I'm willing to believe in the Zelia life. You know, I don't know, man. Dignitas, they're a great organization. They might want to do that.
You're too gullible.
I am too gullible. Let's go to game number 1 here. It looks like we are ready to go. As on the left side, in the blue, it is the Zealots. ADRD playing Medivh, Chris on Greymane, Mopsy on Tyrael, Zarmni on Ragnaros, and Chad to show off Karazim.
And over to the right side of the map, we have Dignitas. Only one loss this season so far, and it was against the Zealots. Snitch on Genji, we have Poik on Hanzo, Booby on Thrall, Zelia on Malfurion, and JPL on ETC.
Now, in terms of wins for Dignitas, this doesn't really mean too much, right? We're having our standings completely reset after this. They're already at the MSB. But for Zealots, if Method were to lose in their match after this, Zealots can move up in the standings, which could be helpful for their playoffs here. So Zealots are definitely coming out and attempting to try and grab this win and snag it away from Dignitas, which, as mentioned by Calidor, has already happened.
Exactly. Like, when we're looking at this, one of the things that we have to definitely watch out for is, of course, playoff positioning, and that's what most teams are fighting for. For Dignitas, it's more so, of course, trying to keep that track record here, going into the mid-season brawl with another victory. And of course, already planning on also setting a boot camp up and just making sure that they prepare for it. We also have a slight adjustment now. Shad actually going on level 1 into Transcendence. So we're actually starting to see that a bit more. There's also with the patch changes coming in. So that's definitely one of the nice adjustments that we have. It's not only going full Bruce Lee on Karazim. These days, you actually start to be a bit more of a supporter.
Yeah, being able to have that movement speed is what's so helpful there. And that's why you would have picked up that Iron Fist in the past. That movement speed was so helpful. So having it on Transcendence is going to be good. We'll see how that works out. I was wondering if we're going to get a little bit more of aggressive Karazim, though. Really, really helpful against a Hanzo. So I'm actually going to keep an eye on him and see how that pays off. As we have a bit of a 2-lane up here at the top as they're trying to make sure they keep Thrall at bay, trying to deny him some experience decks if possible, and threaten the idea of getting a pick on him. Yeah,
and at this point, Thrall, of course, going into the Echo of Elements, so you're trying to get those 20 stacks together. Even the 10 is already worth so much just because you have that mana cost reduction and that helps you to spam the ability out. The problem is, of course, for Wooby that with Medivh floating around every now and then, he has to be very cautious and careful that he doesn't get ganked all of a sudden. But going up against Ragnaros here, we already see Wooby pushing the lane in, actually.
Even pretty close on those stacks at 8 currently. Oh, I'm sorry, that's Scatter Arrow. 13 stacks for Echo Elements. He's cleaning that up pretty fast. And the bottom lane, Team Dignitas looking to be a little bit aggressive. Zealot's actually playing pretty passive in general.
13 stacks 2 minutes in is actually insane.
It's pretty bonkers.
That's absolutely crazy.
2 waves.
Yeah, like he got most of it there. And that's pretty impressive on his part. Now, one of the things that's also always super interesting when you're watching these solo lanes is that ever since the changes with the ammunition lost, oftentimes you're absolutely willing to give up the lane control to let your opponent push you inside the tower range. It makes your own play a lot more safer. If you feel that you can't really damage the structures of your opponent to a sufficient degree, it's always a good idea to just sit tight a little bit, let them push in, and then just stay within your own tower range so that any kind of ganks is not going to happen. That's especially important if you have mobile heroes on the other side, which is also one of the reasons why Zarmani did exactly that in the earlier stages, since the rotation from Genji can threaten him quite heavily. So you need to play this a bit smart and really consider, okay, who's on the other side, who's on the other team? Can I push the lane out, or do I want to play it a little bit closer to home?
Now, Dig gets an early push in the top lane from the Merc camp, so they grab them about 10 seconds earlier than their opponent, so they already have that pushing forward, and then get it straight to the turrets. This allows them for them to run over and start working on the Immortal. Now, Mopsio's already here and set up for defense, but I'm a bit worried for Dignitas, or for Zealots actually, because they have Rag and Medivh the top left clearing out the wave, which is giving Dignitas free damage on this Immortal.
Yeah, I was just about to say, worried for Dignitas more so Zealots, because that Hanzo is not joking when it comes to the damage output. Nice move by Zelia, straight with the root as the portal comes down. So making it very difficult for Zealots to engage into this, since this is, of course, one of the most dangerous moves that Zealots can make here in these situations. Trying to jump into that backline through a portal, but as long as Zelia is ready with the roots, they should be fine here.
And this is a spot where Poikon Hanzo is going to excel. Whenever you have a lead on the Immortal phase, being able to sit back and set up those perfect scatter arrows to poke allows for your team to eventually wear down that Immortal. And that puts a lot of pressure on Zealots to make play. And they feel that pressure. They're making the play now. They move in. They got a portal. Zarmani comes in with Ragnaros, but he gets stopped in his tracks and is taken out. Shad might be next.
Ragnaros is down already, and now they're starting to chase. Mopsio is on the run, and Snitch wants him. JPL also looking for another potential stun, but it seems as if Tyrael is going to be the second victim, and he falls, as we are seeing Dignitas go straight for the Immortal. JPL moving over, pushing everybody away from their own Immortal, getting the slide in as well. Zelia has the root, follow up potentially, could maybe make a play here, but the Immortal already about to go over into the hands of Dignitas with an 80% shield. Impressive start for Dignitas, and not really the opening that Zealots were hoping for. Half a level behind as is already, more than that, and with a talent advantage in a few seconds and a strong Immortal, Dignitas has an opportunity to set themselves apart.
And you gotta love the small things there. Zelia on Mount Furion had that root available and could have dropped it on the portal right away, but knowing that it's actually in his favor to make his opponents dance a little bit, he didn't drop down the root. He made sure that the Greymane wasn't putting any damage on the Immortal, as he had his Hanzo already winning the race, and then when they got to a spot where the opponent started to go ahead and jump the portals, that's when he dropped his Mount Furion root, just to make sure to zone out his opponents. Nice little clever play there from Zelia, and Team at Dignitas with a big Immortal is going to go ahead and four-man push here in the bottom lane.
And they're playing it really well. There's very little poke available for Zealots, so right now there's very little they can do. Ragnaros is up at the top lane, does not push the bot lane where he could potentially defend with a Molten Core here, so instead they have to deal with the situation as is, and again, they don't have a lot of poke available to them. So this is an Immortal that will just shred through the first fort, and 80 already falls as well. Reset on his stacks, a great, nice root comes out of Zelia on his Malfurion, and that eliminates Karazim. Double kill, and the Immortal is still in play as Dignitas is already 2 levels ahead.
Dignitas is just shutting down Zealots right now. Keep turret, one already down, a second one might fall as well, as Poik and Snitch are working on that gate. Decided to go ahead and back up, and why not? There's no reason for them to push the envelope here. They are so far ahead. This is a very valuable Immortal for them. 9.5 experience to 7.5 of Zealots. They are 2 levels ahead on BOE, and they'll be moving into the second Immortal phase with a level 10 advantage. This hurts if you're the Zealots.
Yeah, if Dignitas plays this right, this game is going to be insanely quick. Because right now, all that you have to do if you're Dignitas is you hold, with your level 10 advantage, you start to push aggressively. You either go through the wall at the bot lane, or you're diving behind the fort all the way up at the top and try to get the second structure. Second Immortal should be in your hands no matter what happens, just simply because you're so far ahead with the level 10s. And if that's the case, then you are dominating the lane. But Dignitas already, they want the keep apparently. They're starting to aggressively push in for it. And a kill would definitely allow for that to happen. There's very little Zealots can do. Again, they don't have a lot of range poke available to themselves.
They have to use Molten Core just to defend. JPL gets it baited out, drops out the power slide, disengages as well, and with this Molten Core being down, there's a good chance that it won't be up to the next Immortal phase, so Team Dignitas is okay with this trade. In fact, they're even poking it down a little bit here, and Zarmany will finally expire on the duration of the Molten Core. Still a full level they need before they even hit 10 themselves. Zealots hold their keep, but they use some of their big tools.
Yeah, now the camp is being stolen away, so that's another big problem that they have. And you can tell that there's no way for Zealots to actually fight this Immortal. Unless they get a pick somehow, I don't see them making any big moves anytime soon, just simply because they don't have level 10 abilities. So Dignitas can aim for another 100% Immortal, at least a high shield Immortal, and then they will get the top fort for sure.
And the best part too is Team Dignitas can afford to peel off 1 to 2 members if they want to make sure no damage goes over the side of Zealots, make sure their Immortal is as big and robust as they need. They don't go that route, but they jump straight on the Immortal. Here it is, chunked down to half health, and Hanzo, doing Hanzo things, deletes it.
Yeah. And of course, at this point also, it's just like the sustain that we have on the side of Dignitas when it actually comes to a team fight.
Yeah.
Tranquility has been chosen by Zelia. We have seen that occasionally from him, and it popped up a lot, especially in the Asian region, as we were talking about Korea, for example. Once again, they're starting to make a play for Mobster down here at the bottom, whereas as Hanzo and Thrall are both damaging the Immortal, and there it is, 100%. And now, with level 10s and that advantage, they can go through the top. And there's just absolutely no way to hold the fort. I mean, Zealots can be happy at this point that we're not talking about keep. And actually, with Ragnaros falling, we might.
Zarmany having a really rough game here. Gets picked off again. And now, Team Dignitas pushes top lane, and they're about to finish Progress too to help out with Sustain. You talk about Sustain, but having Progress and Tranquility and Map Fury heals coming in?
JPL moving past to the side. He's trying to see if he can maybe get that mosh pit off. 10 is going to be ready for Zealots soon enough. But the problem is that the Immortal didn't really get scratched. I mean, he lost a few shields, but now we're talking about keep. Yes, 10 should be there for Zealots, and there it is. But I mean, can they hold this?
They're 10, and Dignitas is not 13 yet, so they're on even talent tiers. They're going to have to make a play. May have to go for a Hail Mary, and I think it's still going to happen. They have Ragnaros coming from the back. He's going to Molten Core.
Yeah, he's going to try Molten Core from behind.
There it is.
All right, Molten Core is in. That's the play. That's the move. Leyline is there already. JPL moves in. They're trying to drop them, and Malfurion goes low, but so far still alive. Drops the Tranquility, but Tyrael takes him down. The kill against Dignitas as Zealots is fighting for their life in game number 1.
Shad is low, so is Zarmany and Mobsio taking a little bit of damage here. JPL goes in for a mosh pit, misses it completely. Snitch is low on health too. Team Dignitas may need to back up, but they're doing their best here to protect their Hanzo, who's poking away like crazy. Zealots are split because they have to be. The Immortal is still showing away on their keep.
Classic zoning mosh coming in, but it's not enough. Genji goes down as we have Greymane popping off the opportunity as Hanzo is taken apart as well. Dignitas hitting 13 finally, but 3 kills against them. And now we have the Immortal moving through the keep. Zealots still on the back foot. The core is not going to take any damage here, but Wooby will fall as well. So at this point, 4 kills for the Zealots. They get back into this game slowly and steadily, but they are down to 1 last remaining main structure. They only have their keep left at the bot lane. And even with those 4 kills, this is a rough spot to be in.
That surprise flank really working out there for Zealots. Ragnaros coming from behind, getting the Leyline seal to move in. He can follow up into the Molten Swing. Has Sulfura Smash too. I love how Ragnaros layered his CC just to make sure they had enough time to get that kill. Shad could be in trouble as the power side comes out. He uses a 7-sided strike and goes in for a dash straight onto his teammate, and the arrow misses from point. This means Zealots could get away.
Yeah, once again, they're trying to chase though, and that is, yeah, Shad gets out. Chris was trying to provide a dash target, and the portal was also there, so there was definitely enough for him to get out of this spot. For the Zealots, it's all about getting 13. So they are finally in possession of their own level 13 talent. They're at this point not quite an entire level behind, but of course it's about the structural advantage that Dignitas has on the map. When it comes to the objective, though, Zealots now have a fighting chance to win an Immortal and maybe try and snowball this against Dignitas. Since with Dignitas not losing a fort yet, I don't think they have lost a tower yet, to be honest, there's a good chance that you can get the lead in experience if you win one objective. The problem just still remains that Zealots is pressured on the top lane so heavily because catapults are spawning continuously against them.
Law and Order coming online for level 13 for Arterial player, adding a little bit more shields and also a little bit more damage, being able to cycle it out as they go through. Also moving into the level 13 pickup here for Karazim if he ever gets rooted, 6 cents, give them that 75 physical armor. So dive and a little bit CC coming their way is something that Zealots can handle, especially with that level 13. Resilient Flame for Ragnaros. So we're going to be looking for a little bit more damage for them. And with them only being a level behind, still uneven talent tiers, as you mentioned, they can contest this Immortal. And immediately we see Mopsio jumping in to put a little bit of damage on the opposing Immortal and try to get Dignitas to come over and fight.
Yeah, this is really the moment where Zealots, they need to win a fight here. They need to, fight in an Immortal. If they can manage that, they have a chance to get back into this. But just look at the top lane. The camp has already been taken earlier. Genji pushed out a wave. So now there's a huge timer on the Zealot side where they have to make a move or send someone back to deal with this. And if they do send someone back, Dignitas will use that as a trigger to immediately make an aggressive move themselves. So a very uncomfortable situation for Zealots, and it looks like they are currently thinking about giving up the halftime show just to make that play. But here comes AD already with a ley line set up, and they're trying to blow Wooby up, but it doesn't work out.
Wubby just fine, gets up to full health thanks to Tranquility, and Snitch, he takes the opportunity. He goes in and he starts cutting people down. There's a pick on Greymane. Zarmi's low on the top left, so is ADRD. Another switch strike back onto Mopsio as he's taken away. So is Karazim as well. That's going to be the fourth. That's going to be the fifth. Poik and Snitch going off with Wubby able to sustain out on that massive damage. Coming out from Zealot, Azalea brings out that Tranquility. Nice hold there from Team Dignitas as they will now push with the catapults.
Yeah, and right now Dignitas takes game number 1. Great move there. Zealots were heavily dependent on getting the kill against Thrall. That didn't work out for them. And then we just see everyone taken down. But even without it, it would have been a rough going for the Zealots. Dignitas in dominant fashion, game number 1, taking the lead in the series.
A different strategy from